Hola, en este video tengo ganas de probar algo nuevo, un hábito que me gustaría probar y hacer cada día para empezar, no para empezar, para mi mi vida es llena de muchas cosas y necesito una manera para practicar cada día, pero en una manera bastante natural, y entiendo que hay beneficios para escribir, pensar en todas las cosas en tu vida que estás feliz. So, what exactly am I holding? This is the 6-Minute Diary. So I first discovered this when I was in Germany visiting a friend, and I happened to go to a bookstore. And I got pretty curious about just picking up and looking at books. And I found what I thought was the most beautiful looking journal. And then when I open it up, it's really cool because it's a device that helps you to reflect daily. It gives you some options for habit tracking. It does all this thing about, gratitude journaling, but it wasn't in English. Of course, I didn't speak any German, so I wasn't going to pick up the German version, but the first thing I did was Google, is there a Spanish version? And there is. So now I have it in my hand. And really the goal here is going to be for me to pick up a daily reflection practice, but we also use this as an opportunity to practice my Spanish. There are going to be words and phrases that I'm going to need to look up as vocabulary, and it's going to be quite cool to have almost a running note of what that looks like, as well as a running note of what were the highlights of my days, what was I really grateful for, what are the things that I really thought went well but maybe also didn't go well. I haven't actually spent that much time looking at the journal, so I need to look and exactly see what some of the questions are, but as we do this walkthrough, you guys can do that with me. The first section of the journal is basically a book. It's full of quotes and it's full of information about how you can really leverage morning and evening routines, mindfulness practices, and all the contents of the daily journal to accelerate goals in your life. And for this purposes, it's entirely in Spanish. The next section of the book is then some more journaling and diary specific features and explainers sections, as well as some kind of orientating questions for reflection. The main part of the journal is actually these daily prompts, and the prompts are pretty much the same every morning and evening. In the morning, it's I'm grateful for, and you can list 3 things. Then it's asking you in what way you're going to make today a great day. And then it's also asking you to write down a positive affirmation. Then we have this grey section or band, which is a little bit like additional information, inspirational quotes, etc. It seems to vary from page to page. For the nighttime section of the journal, we have my best action of the day, in what way am I going to improve, and great things which I experimented with today. And there's 3 space for you to list 3 things. And I think it's interesting the steer and lean of these questions, right? They're things that are naturally going to lead you to think quite deeply and also kind of change your life and inform positive habits. And so doing that deep thinking and then translating that into Spanish is just going to be great for practicing writing different tenses and also learning new bits of vocabulary. Another really cool thing I like about this journal is that it actually has an extensive section talking about benefits to mindfulness health-related practices, and it's all in Spanish. Like, it's quite a chunky section. It's like 66 pages. And the fact that it's in Spanish, it's a great chance to review a couple of tenses. There's going to be phrasings that I've never used that I can pick up from this. And so I'm pretty keen to go through this with a highlighter, bit by bit, read it, digest it, but also use it as a chance to refresh my Spanish. And what's cool is that it's designed for like a native speaker. So it's going to be, I guess, the average level of comprehension for a Spanish speaking adult. And I think that's just going to be a really good area for me to be exposed to at this stage where I kind of need to passively keep up my Spanish, but I don't necessarily have the bandwidth to fully commit to it. I also hope this journal is going to be useful for me to figure out my Spanish exit plan. And what I mean by exit plan is that when you learn a language, when you're full-time learning, you're obviously choosing to prioritize doing that learning, but you reach a point in which the only way you're really going to learn more is by being immersed in that language, moving to the country, working in that language full-time, speaking in it socially full-time. And so you kind of have to make a trade-off of, do I keep going and not necessarily get the fun of seeing myself make massive improvements or like quite sizable improvements, or do I pick an alternative outlet for how I choose to use and express this language? And for Spanish, I've reached the point where my journey for this now is to maintain the language as much as possible. There might be some opportunities for me to either work in a Spanish-speaking context or do further immersion in future, but that opportunity is like not necessarily in the next 6 months, in the next 12 months. And therefore, being practical about kind of what my goals are in life, I need some way to keep it on the back burner so I don't lose all of the vocabulary and grammar that I've really loved learning. But I also am not going to be spending like 6 to 10 hours each week studying it as I was at some of the peak of my language learning study. Don't get me wrong, I absolutely loved and really enjoyed that. But there's, as I mentioned, there's the real fun of being a beginner and learning and seeing yourself improve versus just like trying to stay at the same level. And I think trying to stay at the same level is just like, as a process, less fun unless it's completely natural. So I think this journal is going to help me with crafting that exit plan, because I think it's going to give me an awareness of like, oh, where am I like losing knowledge really fast? And like, how can I not? So if you're interested in also getting this journal, getting the German equivalent, I'll check if there's a French one. I'll put all the language related ones that I can find into the description below. I think it's a really cool product. Let me know what you think. And let's do like a catch up in like a couple of months about how using this has actually gone and if it has served its intended purpose and if I will do this more for other languages. Thanks guys. Hasta luego. Thanks for watching. The YouTube algorithm thinks that you might like these videos, so why not check them out?